Well, we had the official teaser for Omni-Man and Tremor at Comic-Con merely weeks ago, and simply, yesterday, we had the official look at Omni-Man and Tremor combined with more detail for their moves, and just generally showing us a bit more of what they have to offer. However, this video is not about Omni-Man, although I must say he looks potentially incredibly strong. This one is about the Tremor cameo, and how I've already been thinking about this, but seeing this trailer has really sort of confirmed how I'm feeling, that Tremor has such a huge chance to potentially flip the meta of this game right on its head. And today's video is going to explain exactly why I think that, while at the same time showing off what we know already move-wise. If you were curious about the release dates for both of this content, Tremor and Omni-Man will actually release separately, which, I will be honest, is not what I expected. I did hope they would release together, but Omni-Man, November 9th is for Kombat pack owners, so that's the early access, and the official launch of him will be November the 16th. Tremor is a bit later, November the 20th for Kombat pack owners, and then November 27th for non-Kombat pack owners. This means that at the next Mortal Kombat 1 Pro competition stop offline, which is UFA in Paris, that's Europe's big stop, Omni-Man has the potential to be legal for that tournament, but due to Tremor's later release, I'm not particularly sure he will be legal to use. So to start with, let's talk about what we know. We know that Tremor has 3 variations. The original 2 variations of Aftershock and Metallic were confirmed by Ed Boon on social media days ago. However, with the recent trailer, it is confirmed that Crystalline is going to join them. So all 3 of Tremor's Mortal Kombat X variations are able to be used in Mortal Kombat 1. This means that the variations will grant you new special moves, essentially, depending on what variation you have, and even if some of the moves look quite similar, they function differently and they appear to have different properties, making them brand new moves in function. It is still unclear how those variations are swapped between. We do not know if you swap between them on the fly, or if you choose one variation in Cameo Select, which would be more similar to Mortal Kombat X. But more info on that will come out when we can actually play the cameo, right? So right now, all we can do is theory craft. Let's begin with what is definitely Aftershock. Aftershock appears to have the launching punch attack. This is straight from Mortal Kombat X, and it seems to be a summon as well. So, having this variation gives you meterless launch potential. We do not know if it's a set juggle property, like some launchers have, or if this is simply going to be affected by your combo. What I mean by that is how many hits have landed, is it going to launch lower depending on how late you use it, or if not, it could be really useful for various combo enders or setup. The next punch we saw in the trailer is the straightforward one. It is self-explanatory, it hits the opponent, it knocks them down, and it sends them quite far away. Now, when I looked at this move, my first assumption was, is this one of Tremor's, if not the only Tremor reversal? Something you can use on block, something you can use on wake up. Of all the moves I saw, this surely has the highest chance of being a reversal. If not, it does appear to be just a straightforward, simple knockdown. And for now, the final Aftershock move we've seen, which was in the latest trailer, is the low ground pound. Now, we don't know if this hits as a low, it might be unblockable, I'm going to assume it's a low. However, this, again, we only saw with the Aftershock variation in the trailer. How this is going to function, again, I'm not entirely sure, but you have a launching punch, a knocking down punch, and a what looks like a low-hitting ground pound-esque punch, which could have some pretty cool uses down the line, I imagine. All 3 of these attacks in the trailer are summons, which could mean that Aftershock may not have an ambush attack. But again, we can only go by what we've seen, and it's almost guaranteed that we haven't seen everything. The second is Metallic. Now, thanks to the combination of the first look trailer and the actual trailer, we have seen that Metallic Tremor provides a up blast, a straightforward blast, and finally, a sort of low bowling ball projectile. Now, both of these blasts seem to come out quite fast, and it looks like they could be a variation of the punch attack that Aftershock has. However, the up version launches the opponent and appears to be an ambush attack. Whether this hits them on the ground or only in the air, we will have to find out. The straight version we didn't see much of, but could function similar to that knockdown punch that Aftershock has. I want to talk about the bowling ball. Some of you that went over the trailer with a fine-tooth comb may have realized that before the bowling ball happens, Tremor does a separate animation and then meter is spent on the EX version of this low attack. Now, whether this hits as a low, I don't know. What we do know is that meter is spent to send a projectile that you can then follow up with, and in the trailer, Omni-Man teleports behind it. I don't think every character is going to be able to do something like that, but the fact that you spend meter on that has me really interested with either what the original version is, or if this is just a meter special. Another theory that fans have had is that by spending meter, maybe Tremor is changing variations on the fly. Whether I think that's true, I'm not sure. If Tremor could swap variations on the go, that on paper could be kind of busted. And if it's possible, I really do hope it is balanced accordingly. Important to note that when Tremor came in and hit the pose and threw the bowling ball, that attack was an ambush, which means you are not restricted in your movement while executing the assist. What does this mean? Does this mean that Metallic is the only variation that has ambush attacks? Does every variation of Tremors have an ambush attack, but this is the only one we've seen? Could it be a universal thing? Should he be swapping variations on the fly? There are so many questions here, but what we do know is that most of them are summons. This one isn't. The final variation move we saw was Crystalline. Now, Crystalline had a projectile reflect in the trailer, and this one is a summon, unlike Motaro's, for instance, which is an ambush. This could mean that you have to use it a lot more on reaction. I don't know what the startup's going to look like overall. It might be kind of slow, maybe it's a bit faster, but either way, it's more of a time and a place, you would imagine. However, what I'm thinking of is we haven't seen all the moves. Crystalline is the most infamous of the Tremor variations, mostly due to the Armored Flex, a move that almost everyone unanimously disliked fighting in Mortal Kombat X because of just how oppressive the offense would become. We do not know if that armor is here, and if it is, oh no. But with the analysis out the way, this is what I really wanted to talk about in the video, which is why I think Tremor has such a chance to flip this meta on its head. Cameos, in my opinion, are already the most game-changing asset of the entire game. When you look at characters and how good they are, it tends to be because of a specific pairing. If the cameo wasn't there, the character would not be considered in such high regard. Let's look at characters pre-patch like Rain and Cyrax, where the only reason Sonic Fox was saying Rain was top 5 was because Cyrax at the time allowed Rain to do so much. You can look at the weaker characters that were using a Cyrax or a Kung Lao, and their position in the tier list was better than it maybe would have been, just because one or two cameos help them in an area they drastically need, and they may be forgettable without them. But you can't play without cameos, so this information is still valid, right? It's such an interesting discussion, but the cameos change characters. They will transform a character's viability. Let's look at Tremor for a second, even on paper, and even not knowing every move. We saw 3 attacks from Aftershock, 3 attacks from Metallic, and although we only saw 1 attack from Crystalline, it's fair to assume Crystalline will have 3 as well. Now I'm saying 3 at least. Quite a few cameos in this game have 4 or sometimes more assist attacks, and although that would be way more for the variation-based Tremor, I'm still not going to rule out the possibility of there being more attacks than what we saw in the trailers. There is a possibility for some moves to have one input that you hold a certain direction to get a different direction, which by function could be a different move if it has different properties. The reason I've mentioned all of this is because Tremor, as a cameo, overall has the possibility for at least 9 special moves. 9 special moves for a single cameo. I look at the entire roster here, and I think, depending on the utility that Crystalline will provide, surely with that concentration of special moves, at least one of those moves is usable by every character in the game. And who knows how much of a big deal that usefulness can be. Like I said, we haven't seen everything yet. I highly doubt Crystalline has just one attack, right? There's got to be more there. So when you look at characters that are on the weaker side, or maybe characters that the community isn't really looking at right now, what if there are some Tremor moves that this character has never been able to use before? It's never allowed them to play a certain way or to have a certain game plan. All of a sudden, here comes a new cameo with all of these different attacks, and you have an entirely new set of synergy to work with. And that is, on its own, something that can shift a meta. A new character coming into power that they didn't have before because these tools were previously not available to them. If you've ever watched any of our live streams, my opinion on Cameo is clear. I genuinely think that cameos are, as I've said in this video, the thing that will shift the meta of this game. Because when people look at pre-patch, they weren't really talking about base roster. They were always talking about the pairing. It was always Raiden, Cyrax, Baraka, Cyrax, Johnny Cage, and Cyrax. This cameo was what was allowing so many of these characters to be so overwhelming, and since the patch, I know there's been a lot of experimentation with cameos, maybe not so much with base characters, but people are starting to find different pairings that are still working really, really well. But when you look at the game-changing meta pairings, it's always related to the cameo more than it is the base roster, and there's a chance for Tremor to become instantly a heavy hitter if all of these moves work well with almost everyone in the game. Surely it is likely. But by all means, we could revisit this video in who knows how long's time and laugh at me over how wrong I was. But I find it a very interesting subject and something that I know that not everyone's been thinking about, and they're the kind of videos that I like making about Mortal Kombat 1 right now. Thank you for checking this video out, and rest assured I will be making more videos on the new content. This isn't the only Tremor video you're going to see on this channel. I plan on going over both Omni-Man and Tremor in detail when they hit their official release. I appreciate you for watching this. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time. Take care.